So, what did you want to discuss?
While you were away, I received an unusual transmission on my dedicated Eleuthia frequency.
Eleuthia. That's one of the sub-functions you couldn't detect before.
Yes. The transmission occurred so slowly that at first it seemed like an accidental blip of data amongst background static. Once I noticed this irregularity, it took some time to collate the complete message.
Coordinates. Where does it lead?
To a mountain to the northwest of this facility. A word of caution, Aloy. It is possible this transmission is genuine. It is also possible it is being broadcast by someone, or something else.
You don't think it's actually Eleuthia?
I am uncertain.
What's SOS?
It is an old world code. A distress signal. A desperate plea for help.
Why would Eleuthia send a coded transmission on a frequency only the two of you can communicate on?
I believe it was done as a precaution to avoid detection, or at least to create the appearance of the desire to do so. I am also uncertain why Eleuthia would expect that I would be able to detect and respond to its distress signal at all. As far as it is aware, I no longer function.
Okay, so either Eleuthia is in trouble and sent the message hoping you were out there, or someone else is trying to get us to go to these coordinates, pretending to be Eleuthia.
That is my conclusion as well.
Could the Zeniths be sending the transmission?
According to the data I reviewed on your focus, the Zeniths recovered the other Gaia root kernel in the Hades Proving Lab. It is feasible they used it to gain access to my internal frequencies.
So, maybe they sent it thinking you'd respond and reveal your location.
Possibly. However, the transmission is highly irregular. If they intended to provoke me into revealing myself, I would expect the communication to be more routine.
Right. So maybe it's not them then. You said the coordinates lead to a mountain to the northwest. What's there?
I have no record of anything of note in that vicinity.
Okay, and what about the other number in the message? 237. Any idea what that means?
I have queried my available databases, but it does not appear to have any significance. Perhaps its meaning can only be understood at the indicated coordinates. Perhaps it...
Alright, I'll go to the coordinates and check out the source of the transmission.
All by yourself? Ha! No way.
I included Erend and Varl in this briefing via their focuses. I concur that you should not investigate this alone.
What if it's a trap?
Of course it could be a trap. But if it really is Eleuthia, then it's in trouble, and I need to bring it back. Don't worry. I'll be careful and...
We're coming with you.
Fine. Go grab your things.
We'll wait for you at the west exit, in case you need to upgrade your gear.
I was able to unlock another room in the main living area.
The angry
Good to know.
orb that
I'll check it
we
out when I can.
thrashed at the Battle for Meridian. Right, now that was another one of those subordinate function things.
Yeah, that one was called Hades.
Huh. And you said Aloy ended it for good, right? But Gaia doesn't need it?
I think we're all better off without it.
There she is.
You ready to head out?
Let's go.
Look at us. 3 battle-hardened badasses forging into the unknown. This ought to be good. This distress call had to be up a really steep mountain, huh?
Vermin.
What is that?
What the hell?
Well, that takes the keg.
Burrow, see if there's anything over there.
On it.
We'll check out the battlefield. Let's start with that zenith. Well, there are obviously more zeniths than we know about.
Can't believe you fought one of them.
Almost didn't make it. My pack's full. I can get it from my stash later. Hup. Whatever the rebels did, it took down her shield. But why was she here? I can access her last communication file, but I'll use my focus to scan the battlefield too.
What about that crazy weapon the Zenith had?
It looked like she can make it come and go at will. But it's gone now.
Yeah.
Snow
Well,
comes
go
on
do your
the boots.
thing. I'll wait here.
Our weapon's still hot. I need to know how it worked. But I'll have to check on it once it's cooled off. An Oseram with a focus. Looks like he was sending data on the weapons somewhere else. Looks like the rebels camped here for a while. Are they watching this area?
Knock rebels, Oseram, Zenith.
Have a look around. I'll wait here.
The Spectre had instructions to assist recovery of the asset. I wonder what this asset is. All right. I think I have an idea what happened here. I better get back to Erend.
All right, she who sees the unseen. What did you find out?
This was a carefully planned attack. I found camping gear up there. The rebels must have been staking out this place for at least a few days. They were waiting for the Zeniths to show up. All so that they could test that weapon. The Zeniths have a personal shield that makes them invulnerable, but somehow the weapon got rid of it. The Oseram that was operating it was sending data on it somewhere else. It was probably just a prototype.
I've known tinkers that do that. I'd do a little trial run before breaking out the real thing. Well, I guess it's still a work in progress, if it blew up.
She was searching for something she lost. Her drone had instructions to recover something called the asset.
The asset? Is that the sub-function thing that you said could be here? Eleuthia?
I'm not sure. Come on, let's go talk to Varl. That's a long way down.
Something tunneled straight down into the mountain. Looks recent.
Whatever it was, it must have been powerful. That Zenith the rebels killed was looking for something called the asset. I don't know what it is, but my guess is it's somewhere down there.
All right, so we head down.
Erend, stay here and stand watch. That Zenith isn't the only one of its kind. I don't want to be caught by surprise if the others show up. Contact us by focus if you see anything.
Okay. Any trouble shows up, I'll call you.
Let's go. There's some kind of old-world ruin down here.
You said the Zeniths have their own backup of Gaia, right?
Yeah, from the Proving Lab.
So maybe they were after Eleuthia. Found its hiding spot, so it sent the distress signal.
Maybe. Looks like some kind of data center. I might be able to access the facility systems from that console. I've never seen a transmitter like this before. Looks like it's self-destructed. This was a Far Zenith research lab. It looks like a lot of data was beamcast from here recently. From that device nearby.
So Eleuthia's gone?
If it was ever here, then probably. But then why were the Zeniths still searching for the asset? Let's keep looking around.
So, exploring another far zenith ruin.
At least this one doesn't seem to have giant killer machines.
Or anything you can blow up. All this stuff. Wonder what they were doing here.
Well,
Find anything that
knowing
might
far
tell us
zenith.
what the asset is?
probably discovering... I don't think so. This place is huge. Some kind of storage room, maybe.
Maybe the asset is in here somewhere.
If it is, somehow the Zenith couldn't find it. Let's look around. Sends to my stash. So, how is Erend taking all of this? Really?
Well, Gaia, the Zeniths, the Focus. It's a lot. But when I caught up to him in the Gaunt and said you needed our help, he dropped everything and turned around.
Well, he's loyal. That's for sure. A control console. To access the storage units.
Can it tell us if the asset is in one of them?
Well, let's find out.
$236 containers in storage. Please enter the container number you'd like to retrieve.
236? Wasn't there a number in the distress signal?
You're right. I should check the log.
$236 containers in storage. Please enter the container.
Aloy. It's you. Skin's like ice. Must have cut this from her head. But why?
Hello, Elizabeth. Apologies, I don't know what else to call you. My name is Beta. I'm afraid I must be brief. I only have a few minutes before my keepers discover I'm missing, and I still need to remove this implant. I had hoped to find shelter with you, but if you're viewing this, I may be dead. Be careful when you take on Far Zenith. They are ruthless, and they have Eleuthia, Artemis, and Apollo now. But at least I don't have the Gaia kernel to merge them with. You must succeed, or this was all for nothing. Good luck. And goodbye. So she's
still alive.
We need to get her back to...
Oh shit, they can fly? Aloy! Aloy, can you hear me through this thing?
What's going on, Erend?
2 of those spectral things just fell out of the sky. One of them is heading down towards you. The other one's waiting up here.
We're coming up. Stay in cover until I get there.
You got it.
Get her to cover in that room. Whatever happens, she stays with us.
I'll protect her.
I should prepare before the Spectre gets here. I can't let it get through to Varl and the clone. Here it comes! Ugly one, aren't you? That thing's quick. There.
Are you okay, Aloy?
Yeah, I'm heading up top. Stay down here with the clone for now.
Got it. I'll follow once the coast is clear.
Gotta get back up top and deal with that other Spectre. I just hope Erend stays in cover.
the Spectre's dug its heels in. It's got me pinned down.
Hang tight. I'm almost there.
Just hurry.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. I gotta get to Erend. Erend, I'm here.
Watch out.
It starts snowing
That
soon.
thing's shooting down the center.
Stay put. I'll see what I can do.
The second you need me, I'm there. Hey, get out of there! Hey, you want me to hit you again? You aren't winning this battle, you lump. Oh, they felt that one. Hey, boy! Ammo! You got his weak spot. Aloy, she's... Look, I swear I'm not drunk, but right now I'm seeing double.
Long story, but it'll have to wait.
She needs a healer, but we need to get her back to the base immediately.
Right. Yeah. Well, what are we waiting for then?
You two go on ahead. I need to take another look at that weapon. If I can figure out how that thing works, maybe the Zeniths won't be so invincible after all. Only on me. I can send it to my stash. No. Damn it. Well, it's better than nothing. I need to get the weapon fragment to Gaia to analyze. If we can replicate it, maybe we'll have a way to defeat the Zeniths. I should check on the clone, too. Varl, where's our guest?
We're in the maintenance corridor below the control room.
Okay. Erend? You okay?
Huh? Oh, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't I be?
Because there's two of me now.
There's two of you now! Well, at least you seem to be handling it okay.
I wouldn't say that exactly, but I'm trying. Did you speak with Beta at all?
She didn't really wake up till we brought her here. And when she did, I thought it'd be better if Zoe and Varl took care of her. No use crowding someone when they're in a state.
What else have you been studying with your focus?
Yeah, I've been looking into this Vegas place you found. Gaia showed us everything that happened when you went to get that Poseidon thing. I mean, this Merlin guy seems pretty smart. Though, risking the Tanakh clan lands for a light show is a bold move.
Maybe I should check up on them at some point. Just in case.
Right.
What are you working on with your focus?
I'm still figuring out how to read stuff on this thing. Those two lovebirds over there have been giving me a hand. But to be honest, all the little symbols, they give me a headache. But I'll get up to speed. I promise.
I have to get going.
Don't go causing too much trouble.
Oh, looks like I can open that door now. Gaia, what's this space for?
This would have been the sleeping quarters for Control Center operatives.
Well, it's getting some use. Looks like Erend made him... Holograms. Gaia, I thought you said the data here was lost.
I was able to repurpose the equipment to store the data you have acquired in your travels.
Looks like someone's made this space their own.
I see you found Varl and Zoe's room, Aloy. I believe they wanted private accommodations.
I see. Looks like this room's changed. Is that your doing, Gaia?
Yes. I have repurposed the displays to track the cauldrons you have acquired data from.
Aloy, you're back.
Yeah, I'm just, checking up on how everyone's doing.
You mean after meeting someone who looks exactly like you, but isn't you, down in the basement? Guess this must be even stranger for you than it is for us, huh?
A little.
Varl said she may be able to help us in our mission, though.
Maybe. You said you met Beta?
Varl mentioned she was hurt. I thought I'd offer her an extract to soothe the pain.
That was kind of you.
I just hope she doesn't plan on staying burrowed down there like that. She looks like she's barely seen the light of day as it is.
What else have you been up to?
I've been studying Gaia's seedlings, the subfunctions. I wanted to understand why one of them would do what they did to Fa. Imagine my surprise when I looked into this Hephaestus and found out it helped create all machines, our land gods included. In a way, the Utaru owe Hephaestus our whole way of life, as well as our current troubles.
That's why we have to make Gaia whole again. Varl looks pretty focused.
He's been obsessing over the data revealed to us by Poseidon. Just the other day, we read about mountains hiding deep underwater that spew fire. If I understand correctly, Gaia said the flames they release come from the very center of the Earth. Like a heart, beating with the life of the world. As always, the cycle can be found in even the most unlikely of places. Of course, Varl's mostly interested in watching explosions happen underwater.
I need to get going.
May the land bloom in your steps.
Door's locked. Maybe Gaia will be able to get it open later.
Aloy! Glad you made it back okay. She panicked after waking up and stumbled down here. I thought it best to wait for you.
I'll talk to her. Hello? It's Beta, right? My name's Aloy. What's wrong? Is it your injury?
Simulacrum withdrawal syndrome.
I don't understand.
Sudden removal of a neurologically integrated data device. The brain, especially the cerebellum, goes into a kind of sensory freefall. Everything real feels unreal. Distant.
Is there anything that can help?
Do you have a focus to spare? It's primitive, but I can make it work.
Yeah.
Booting up. So, Aloy, I suppose you want information.
About you and the Zeniths? Yeah. Why are they here? What do they want? How did they get you? But let's start at the beginning. I'm guessing they faked the destruction of their ship 1,000 years ago?
That seems consistent with their behavior. They wouldn't want to be followed.
So far, Zenith established a colony world after all.
Yes, for a few hundred years, but it didn't last. Some sort of natural disaster rendered it uninhabitable.
Okay, so the descendants of Far Zenith escaped a dying planet, and now they want to claim Earth for themselves?
Not their descendants.
What?
Not their descendants. It's them. The same ones who left Earth 1,000 years ago. You didn't know?
How can they still be alive? They don't even look... What did they do to themselves?
I believe it's a combination of pharmaceutical, cellular treatments, and technological implants.
And you? Does that mean that you're...
I'm not like them. I was made. On the way to Earth. On the ship. I spent years studying in my training interface, all so that I could serve my function.
Access and control of the terraforming system. But why? What do the Zeniths want with it?
When I discovered the Zero Dawn system had disseminated into its subcomponents, I thought my purpose was to fix it. But I don't think the Zeniths want that at all. I think they want to wipe Earth clean and start over.
So the Zeniths want to exterminate life on Earth. That's what Gaia and I concluded too. But why? Why kill everyone just to take over?
When they took me on missions with them, I saw how they butchered the tribal people we encountered. They didn't seem to care about a rejuvenated Earth, so I concluded that they must want a hard reboot of the system. Then they can redesign it to be exactly what they want.
Mass extinction for their own comfort? Who thinks like that? Well, without their Gaia kernel, they'll have a hard time doing that. The Zeniths needed Elizabeth's gene print to access Zero Dawn facilities. So they made you. Trained you. And you went along with it?
They told me I was born to interface with the Zero Dawn system. When we reached Earth, I pieced together what must have happened to Gaia and her subordinate functions. That's when I started to realize I wasn't meant to fix Gaia. That they must have made me so I could do what their remote extinction signal failed to do. Reboot Earth for their own benefit.
So you know about the extinction signal?
It was speculation, but the only logical conclusion why Gaia suddenly self-destructed after operating efficiently for centuries. Gaia would have only undertaken such a desperate course of action if it had detected a threat to life on Earth that was more dangerous than ceasing function altogether. I should have realized that she would also order the recreation of Elizabeth Sobek to rebuild her.
Yeah, well... surprise. So we're dealing with the same Far Zenith people who once lived on Earth. What else do you know about them?
They were some of the most affluent and powerful people on Earth. They controlled almost every major resource, every industry. Gerard commands them. He's the one who decided to set up a base. The others, Eric, Tilda, Verbena, they resent his authority over them, but in the end, they always do what he says.
Eric. He's the one I fought back in the Hades Proving Lab.
He enjoys hurting people.
Yeah, I know. You mentioned the Zenith set up a base here on Earth. Where is it?
Off the coast, I think. Whenever I had to go on missions, I was transported inside of a Spectre drone. I couldn't see anything outside. But I did overhear the Zeniths talking about it once. They were discussing setting up a perimeter energy shield to repel the local fauna. I'm certain they have other security measures. Spectre patrols, machine lures. It must be impregnable.
What's inside the base?
Launch facilities, so they can shuttle back and forth to their ship in orbit. Plus, infrastructure to gather materials and fabricate anything they need.
Are there more Zeniths than the ones you met?
I'm not sure. I suppose there must be more of them in the base or back on the ship. For all I know, there could be more of them out in space, other survivors of the colony.
You said the Zenith's colony in the Sirius system was destroyed. What happened?
All I was ever told was that a natural disaster forced them to leave Sirius. I've speculated that it was an extrasolar object or a cataclysmic seismic event. Or maybe even an abnormally violent coronal mass ejection from Sirius A.
The Zeniths never told you any details.
They said the only thing that mattered was that they survived. First Earth, 1,000 years ago, and then Sirius.
Guess they survived old age, too. How did you escape the Zeniths?
Before the Hades Proving Lab, I never thought I'd get away from them. Even if I were to run. I'd never survive on my own in the wilds. But then I saw you. And I thought that maybe you could help me. So when the Zeniths pinpointed Eluthia's location in the biomedical research facility, I saw an opportunity.
You said you saw an opportunity to escape when you went to capture Eluthia. What did you do, exactly?
Whenever I was taken out on a mission to recover a subordinate function, only one of the Zeniths would go with me.
The one the rebels killed, outside the facility.
But Bane's dead? How did they bypass her shield?
I'm looking into it. But you were talking about your escape?
Well, when it was time to use the Zenith's transmitter to send Eluthia back to base, I also sent the encrypted transmission. Then I distracted Verbena long enough to seal myself in the ectogenic chamber, altering the facility's logs so it appeared that there were only 236 containers.
And the Gaia root kernel?
I told them I could capture Eluthia faster if I had it with me, and they believed me.
Well done. You said you were born on the way to Earth. In an artificial womb, I'm guessing?
The Zeniths had an ectogenic chamber aboard the ship. An updated version of the one you found me in. They must have used a stored sample of Elizabeth's DNA.
I doubt Elizabeth would have let them take her DNA. Do you know how they got it?
That wasn't part of the archive I was allowed to access.
You said you spent years studying in a training interface. Was this archive you mentioned part of that?
But only the parts I was permitted to access. Aristotle and Aspasia, the avatars of the archive, would assign me learning modules and evaluate my progress.
Wait, those names. They were designed to be the virtual guides for the Apollo database, before Ted Faro purged it.
The Zeniths have a copy.
So it still exists. And you got to learn from it.
Only what was deemed pertinent to the mission. If I requested information outside of my parameters, my tutors would deny it.
To have all that knowledge, just out of reach. Must have been frustrating. All right, I think that's enough for now. Do you want to come upstairs, or...?
So how long? You know, your plan. How long before Gaia's fabricated a machine army to defeat the Zeniths?
How did you know?
Optimal strategy, so?
Well, I still have to get 2 more subordinate functions before Gaia's powerful enough to absorb Hephaestus.
What? You don't have Hephaestus already?
Gaia's still figuring out how to capture it. It's not confined to a single... To a single location, of course not!
You didn't even know who the Zeniths really are. You were supposed to be further along by now. Coming here was a mistake. They're gonna find me. They're gonna find this place and take me back. This was all for nothing.
They're not going to find us. Gaia's using Minerva to mask our location.
What difference does it make? You're too far behind. We're never going to beat them. Everything, everyone, are going to die.
Hey! Calm down. You're here now, right? So is there anything you can do to help?
I have certain knowledge sets. And given your state of progress, expertise you probably lack. Geoengineering, of course. Computer science, physics, biology, chemistry.
Okay. Well, see if you can do something with that. Talk to Gaia. I'll check on you later.
How'd it go?
Her injury's not that bad, but I think she regrets coming here. Feeling might be mutual.
I'll come back later and talk to her. See if I can learn anything.
I should get the weapon fragment to Gaia.
The old ones used their focuses to send all kinds of messages back in the day.
All over the world, too. Anytime they wanted.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like that. I wouldn't want my Aunt Alga knowing she could just talk to me every second of the day. My ears would pop off.
Hey, you and Erend okay?
Nothing some rest can't take care of. Are you okay? This beta thing, it's a lot. Even for you.
Just trying to take it one step at a time.
Fair enough. If you need anything, just let me know.
How's everyone dealing with Beta?
I tried explaining what a clone is to Erend. He was totally lost. Then Zoe said something about 2 trees coming from 1 seed. That seemed to help a bit.
I see everyone settling in.
Zoe's planning on bringing all kinds of plants in here. Says a home should always spring with life anew. I asked Erend to help find some. I think he'd rather stick his head into a snap mall.
Still, it's not a bad idea. Should liven up the place. It's good to see you and Zoe enjoying yourselves.
We're learning a lot. I've actually been looking through the data to find ideas for a gift, and to thank her for helping me study the glyphs. Something from the old world that she's never seen before. Instead, I found out they gave each other stuffed animals. If you ask me, stuffing a dead animal with anything, really, doesn't sound like a good time for anybody.
Maybe Gaia can help you find something else. I should get back to the wilds.
I'll keep an eye on Beta. Make sure she's comfortable.
Okay.
Welcome back. Aloy, I see we have a new guest. So now we know the origin of the transmission.
Yeah. I also recovered this. The weapon it was part of somehow stripped a Zenith of its shield, but it malfunctioned and blew up. If we can recreate the weapon and improve it, maybe we'll gain the upper hand on the Zeniths.
A moment, I will scan it. Complete. By combining the results with data from your focus, I can infer that the weapon was highly advanced, comparable to Zenith technology, but not how it worked.
Did the explosion corrupt the data?
It was only a catalyst. The moment the weapon malfunctioned, it appears a command executed to purge all data within its core. Ostensibly, this was to prevent the weapon's secrets from falling into enemy hands. Whoever designed this weapon knew how to cover their tracks.
Silence.
Based on your data on him, that is my conclusion as well.
And he's not gonna cooperate with us. Well, it was worth a shot. But that's not all. The Zeniths got Eleuthia, along with Artemis and Apollo.
That is unfortunate. However, our original plan remains unchanged. The 2 remaining subordinate functions should increase my heuristic processing density enough to absorb Hephaestus.
Right. One problem at a time. Well, I guess I better get back out there.
I wish you luck on your search.
Right. Thanks, Gaia. So I guess we won't be making use of Cylon's weapon. And now there is another clone of Elizabeth here with us. But I can't let it distract me. I still have 2 more sub-functions to get. Hey, Gaia. It's me.
Hello, Aloy. Did you wish to continue our discussion?
So, I guess Beta's here to stay. I gave her a focus. Told her to talk to you to see if she can help. She's not what I expected.
What were you expecting?
I don't know. Someone more helpful, I guess. And less pessimistic.
It is true she overestimated our progress. However, it is also worth noting that her confidence in your abilities emboldened her to escape the Zeniths.
I guess so.
Give her time. She may yet come around.
How are things around here?
Zoe has been studying the morphology of her land gods in an effort to understand their sickness. Without the abilities of Hephaestus, I am unfortunately unable to correct their programming. However, Zoe and I are hopeful we will find an alternative way to heal them.
Well, keep at it. Varl and Zoe seem to like spending time together.
Indeed. While studying Old World data, Zoe discovered references to a dietary lifestyle known as vegetarianism. She appreciated the similarities with Utaru practices and encouraged Varl to try out this lifestyle.
And how did that go?
I believe they have agreed to disagree.
How's Erend handling things?
He is becoming increasingly accustomed to use of the focus. After an initial incident,
What did he do?
he unfortunately crushed his first focus as he attempted to affix it to his temple. Amongst a number of Oseram curses, I believe he also blamed the focus for being dainty. He has given repeated assurances that it will not happen again.
Well, good thing we have a lot of extras, I guess. How long do we have, then?
At present rates, without additional factors, the biosphere will cross a point of no return in approximately 4 months.
And if I gather Ether, Demeter, Poseidon, merge you with them?
We will only gain a few months more.
Well, every bit counts. So the Hades Proving Lab, where I found the Gaia kernel. It used to be a Pharaoh research facility?
Yes. Prior to appropriation by Zero Dawn, the facility was used to engineer and test advanced computer viruses. It appears to have been one of many research initiatives by Pharaoh Automated Solutions.
I guess it wasn't enough to build automated killing machines. He wanted viruses to infect them with, too. So, a while back, before the battle at Meridian, I went into Banuk territory. I discovered another AI there, one not related to Zero Dawn. Cyan. It was created to oversee operations for a volcanic stabilization project, and it spent the last 1,000 years in isolation. I'm guessing you didn't know about it?
No. From the data on your focus, it seems that Cyan was cut off from the outside world. an effort by its creators to protect it from the Pharaoh Plague.
Any chance it could help us now?
I have already attempted contact, with no success. Given its previous experience with accepting an outside network request, I imagine it is unwilling to do so again.
Right. Because last time Hephaestus enslaved it. Well, that's too bad. I think the two of you would have had a lot to talk about. When I dove down into Vegas, I found data about the man who built the dome over the city. Stanley Chen. It turns out he was a member of Far Zenith. But if he loved Vegas so much, why did he abandon it? Why not try to save it?
The Zeniths, at their core, have proven to be exceptional survivalists. Faced with overwhelming odds of extinction, they chose to flee.
Even still, what he achieved. Water to the wasteland, an entire city brought back to life. 1,000 years later, the whole place was still on standby, just waiting for someone to come along and wake it up. So, Project Zero Dawn. The greatest minds in the world, all working to build the terraforming system while the Pharaoh Plague devoured the planet. What was it like?
Personnel worked in rotations, at all hours of the day. Resources and technology were secured from across the world. Within a month of the project's conception, I was launched and began my education. Elizabeth encouraged me to spend time with the rest of the Zero Dawn staff. She said it was important to experience many personalities and perspectives to aid in my emotional development.
What were they like?
Scared, hopeful, determined. They were hurtling toward technological achievements on a scale never before attempted. I owe everything to their dedication.
Gaia? What was Elizabeth like?
Her presence is interwoven with my memories. The moment I came online, she was there. We exchanged greetings, names, then set to our task. It was the first of many conversations. I enjoyed being in her company, listening to her stories. She was my creator, my guide.
Your friend.
Yes. When I reviewed the data on your focus, I was saddened to learn of her fate, though I am glad she made it home. I deeply wish she did not have to be alone.
She was okay with that. She gave all of herself. The only one who could. Thanks, Gaia. When we were at the facility where we found Beta, there were records that said Far Zenith were researching embryogenesis. I know they traded their ectogenic chambers to Zero Dawn, but why were they researching it in the first place?
At this point, we can only speculate. Perhaps at one time they meant the Odyssey to be a colony ship, necessitating such technology. As their goals evolved over time, so did their areas of research.
So they got more selfish as the risks of staying on Earth kept rising. So this facility, the Regional Control Center, it was meant to oversee the terraforming system?
For the local region, yes. Had humans received their education from the Apollo database, they would have then been guided here to assume operation. As that never happened, this place remained vacant.
Until Minerva decided to settle here. So I guess this room was meant to keep an eye on conditions outside?
Yes. From here, the facility's operators would have been able to observe weather and machine activity in real time. It may be possible to restore more of this room's functionality should you find and reconnect additional camera feeds.
I'll keep a lookout. So the Zeniths are the same people who left Earth. Physically immortal. How'd they figure it out?
From what we know of Far Zenith, it is plausible that prominent geneticists and engineers were offered a place aboard the Odyssey in exchange for their expertise. Given enough time, technology, and resources, any challenge can be overcome.
Like how Minerva eventually generated the deactivation codes for the Pharaoh Plague.
Exactly.
The Zeniths. Gerard, Eric, Tilda, Verbena. Beta said they were some of the most powerful people on Earth. Do you know anything about them?
Unfortunately, no. My personal database is limited to those who worked on Zero Dawn. Additionally, it appears Far Zenith was quite secretive about their members. Only one, Oswald Dahlgard, was ever publicly known.
Right. He was the spokesperson back at their old launch facility.
What we can conclude from your and Beta's experiences is that the Zeniths are ruthless in pursuit of their goal. To protect life on Earth, they must be stopped.
Beta believes the Zeniths want to use the terraforming system to wipe out life on Earth. Start over, so they can build it how they want. But why? Given their technology, they could wipe out the tribes of the world by easier means. And if they're the same people who left Earth 1,000 years ago, wouldn't they want the biosphere to be as it was?
It is likely they adjusted to different planetary conditions in their colony on Sirius. They may be trying to recreate that environment here.
Turning Earth into a new Sirius. Their own personal playground. The extinction signal didn't just wake Hades. It made every subordinate function self-aware. Why?
I have wondered this myself. So far as I can tell, Hades was the sole target, and the partial sentience imparted to other subordinate functions was incidental.
A signal that precise would require thorough knowledge of the system. How could the Zeniths know that?
From the records on your focus, it appears Far Zenith had an informant during the development of Zero Dawn.
Hank Shaw. He was supposed to steal a copy of the system for Far Zenith, but Elizabeth and Travis Tate caught him first.
Yes. It is likely Far Zenith acquired knowledge on the systems designed through him, despite his failure.
So from what Beta told me, I guess we can assume the Zenith's technology is powerful in all sorts of ways, right?
Yes. As your encounters with them amply demonstrate, they appear to make extensive use of robotic servitors. Further, they seem to be equipped with some kind of protective energy field that shields them from harm.
They seemed indestructible, but that weapon the rebels used stripped their shield somehow.
Throughout history, every defensive technology has eventually been defeated by an offensive counterpart. While we lack the anti-shielding weapon, were I to absorb Hephaestus and utilize it to create a large force of combat machines, no shielding could withstand such an assault indefinitely.
So there's hope.
Always.
How did you figure out that the extinction signal came from Sirius?
The key came with data on your focus, from Silent's interrogation of Hades. The duration of the signal itself, 17.22 years.
That doesn't make sense. You said that the signal took 8.6 years to arrive from Sirius. Why would the signal keep transmitting after it was received and you blew yourself up?
Because the sender didn't know that had happened until it received notice from Hades.
Which would take another 8.6 years to get back.
Correct. Only then would the sender stop broadcasting, after a total of 17.22 years. So the duration, halved, gave me the distance the signal traveled. With that in mind, I simply scanned my astronomical database for any relevant location 8.6 light-years away. Because it was Far Zenith's intended destination, Sirius was the only logical source.
What can you tell me about Demeter?
Demeter sows, fertilizes, and tends to plant life.
So once I bring it back, all the blight out there will start to get better.
While permanent restoration requires the abilities of Hephaestus, I may be able to improve conditions in the region for a while. However, a word of warning. Like Ether and Poseidon, Demeter's response to my query was highly irregular. Alone and frightened, it may have taken measures to assure its security.
Okay, I'll keep my guard up. The missing subordinate functions. What can you tell me about them?
Artemis rewilded the Earth with a variety of animal species. Eleuthia was responsible for gestating, nurturing, and acculturating a new generation of human beings. Apollo was tasked with preserving, organizing, and disseminating vast archives of human knowledge and cultural achievements. Unfortunately, all archived Apollo data was purged on the 2nd of February, 2066, by order of Ted Faro.
Pharaoh, huh? I really hate that guy.
Understandable. He appears to have been pathologically narcissistic, impulsive, and unstable.
All 3 of the missing functions have already served their purpose, or were prevented from doing so. Do you still need them?
Restoring their remaining elements would increase my heuristic processing density, empowering my overall function. Unfortunately, as we now know they are in the possession of Far Zenith, attaining them in the short term is very likely impossible.
I guess our best shot at recovering them is by taking over the Zenith base. But we'll need Hephaestus and a bunch of combat machines to do that.
Correct.
Were you able to make use of Poseidon?
Yes. Many rivers, streams, and lakes associated with the regional watershed have been detoxified. As a result, red algae growth levels have seen a marked decline. According to my data, however, it appears a localized occurrence of red algae continues to persist near the coast.
Maybe I'll look into it when I can. So, Poseidon spent the last 20 years hiding out in Las Vegas. From the data I found, it seems the city had an advanced water reclamation system. Is that why Poseidon went there?
Most likely. In an effort to protect itself, Poseidon sought out a safe harbor where it could access water supply functions. There, buried and encased in a protective dome, it could guard against any threats.
Like 3 Oseram showmen?
I suspect that was not the first time it felt the need to repel trespassers.
You said you need Hephaestus to save life from extinction. Why?
Every subordinate function has value, but Hephaestus is by far the most important. Only by recovering and merging it can I regain my ability to design and mass-produce new machines at cauldrons across the planet. Only through it can I program new machines and alter the tasking of existing machines to completely reverse environmental damage. Recovering other subordinate functions may buy us time, but without Hephaestus, I cannot permanently stave off mass extinction.
Given Hephaestus's importance, is there really no way to capture and merge it now?
I'm afraid that is quite impossible. In my present state, I am operating at less than 30% of my intended processing capacity. Hephaestus still exceeds this figure. Were an attempt made to conduct the merge under these circumstances, Hephaestus would absorb me, rather than the other way around. A merge cannot be attempted until my heuristic processing density exceeds its own.
And how many more subordinate functions is that gonna take?
Merging Ether, Demeter, and Poseidon will expand my heuristic network to 41.6% capacity, exceeding that of Hephaestus.
You said Hephaestus isn't located in just one place.
Correct. Unlike the other subordinate functions, which are confined to discrete physical processors, Hephaestus is distributed throughout the global network that connects the planet's cauldrons.
So, when the time comes to subdue it, how do we make that happen?
I do not know. While you are retrieving the procurable subordinate functions, I will attempt to find a solution.
So, once Hephaestus has been recovered and merged, you'll regain the capacity to mass-produce machines at cauldrons around the world.
Yes, and to program their behavioral routines, or even control them directly.
So you could build an army of machines. Attack the Zeniths and take them out.
It is in my nature to take any and all necessary steps to preserve life on Earth, human life above all. So yes, once I have been empowered with the capacities of Hephaestus, I could design, build, and command such an army. Given the nature of the far Zenith threat, doing so may be our only option. I must admit, however, that I have misgivings about using such technology to kill, no matter how aggressive the enemy.
That's good. It means you have a conscience. As Elizabeth intended.
Indeed.
What do we know about Ether?
Ether is responsible for detoxifying the atmosphere and moderating the weather. Acquiring it might allow me to quell the most severe storms in the region. But be careful. Like Demeter and Poseidon, it will need to be restored to its original code state before it is safe to capture.
Got it. I should be going.
Goodbye, Aloy.
Huh. Looks like someone's rearranged stuff in here.
Aloy, I see you found your room. Your companions thought you would appreciate a private space of your own.
That was thoughtful of them. This is the rite of passage that Vashav gave me at the embassy. I liked him. He seemed like a good man. I think he was really looking forward to going home. My old spear. Rust helped me make it. When I finished my training. Feels like so long ago now. I've been carrying Elizabeth's pendant with me for months. But since we're gonna stay a while, I think I'll keep it here, where it'll be safe.
I wouldn't have the song if I didn't like the way you sing it.
So you like hearing me butcher Utaru music?
I sure don't. You sound like a dying long leg.